Good afternoon, VV Nation. Happy Monday to everyone. I know the alert will be hitting in just a moment. Again, my name is Ryan. Glenn is out on PTO at the moment, but we're seeing some optimism in the market. So we'll give everyone just a moment to make their way into the room. Can you please put VV in the comment section just to make sure you can hear me, you can see me. We got Joey in the background on the technical issues today. Hopefully Sherilyn says sound ? Is my mic not on? Lisa says Watson. So you can hear me, you can see me? Perfect. Looks like Lisa says yes. Jazz is saying yes. All righty. We need volume. Sherilyn, that might... Martin says hard to hear. Audio is barely audible. So Joey, sounds like I'm a little low potentially. Let me try this.
I turned it up.
Oh, you did turn it up? All right, perfect. Well, we're seeing some optimism in the market. Big rally all around. I don't know if you saw, but AMD shares, up almost 10%. Everyone's still saying there's a volume issue, so I'm not exactly sure they can't hear me.
They just need to catch up. I mean, it's pretty much all the way up.
All righty. We'll give it just a second here. Better, still on the low side. All right. But that being said, I mean, even though we're seeing some optimism in the market, we got yellow lights across the board. The color guard is currently neutral, and VectorVest is not going to advocate buying any stocks at this time. You see the Dow Jones up 361 points. NASDAQ leading the charge up 1.5% right now, while the S&P being lagging behind, but still good overall, up just over 1% here. But as the major indices are hitting their session highs, they are retracing from that at the moment here. So let's go ahead and take a look at some intraday charts, see what the market is doing here. Let's put in the SPY, QQQ, and the VectorVest composite. All right. Let's go into intraday. So for Monday, we can see the rally was in the first half of the trading session on Monday. A slow decline. I mean, literally looks like a descending channel here. Both on the top, and you can see rejection right at this trend line, several levels here. Looks like the S&P is moving in a descending channel format right now. So let's zoom in a little bit more here. There we go. There's the descending channel going into the afternoon trading session. Sherilyn says volume is 30% of normal. Volume good here. We're getting mixed reviews on the volume still. But that being said, just make sure it's turned up on the YouTube side as well. You can see a nice retest of this, but we're giving that away. It looks like a bearish engulfing candlestick here. Let's go down to the Qs. Also rejection at this level here around 535. Almost looks like a head and shoulders. We got a shoulder over here. A head in the middle, another shoulder over here on the right-hand side. Looks like we are breaking that neckline as we speak here. So keep that on your mind. Could be a little afternoon bearish sentiment here. And if we take a look at the broad market, the VectorVest composite, you can see that hit its high right before 11 a.m. and on the decline ever since, coming in at 71.25 right now. And let's go back to a 1-month chart. Take off earnings per share, RSI. I want to take a look at some of our signals here. Let's go back a little bit more. All right, we're still in a confirmed up signal and have been since the 12th of May. If we take a look, our DEW, this is more of our swing trading signal here. We're still in a DEW up signal. And if I change this to the Pro Trader timing layout, we're still above that 30-day weighted moving average in DPO, still in positive territory, but you can see converging closer to the oscillation point of 0. On top of that, price action converging closer to that 30-day weighted moving average. So just keep that on your radar. It's not down. We're still in a DEW up signal, but with the MTI still elevated, would be more cautious on the buying side. Be a little bit more optimistic on taking profits at this time. Yeah, very, very slow decline, right? Very slow decline. It's kind of a stall, but we are, making up those losses from Friday. So let's go right into the news headlines here. I do have some things that potentially move in the market here. All right, first thing I want to look at is the economic calendar. We got a lot of big things going on this week. The biggest one is probably going to be the FOMC decision rate. Fed chair will hold a conference as well. This is Wednesday. This will be during the live stream afternoon market action. So we will be covering this. You got initial job claims. Wednesday is going to be the big day here. As we scroll later into the week, nothing too crazy. We got some Fed manufacturing data, U.S. leading economic calendars. But yeah, that being said, it's going to be Wednesday. And as far as what's moving the market today, look at AMD. Has anyone seen AMD today? Up almost 10% at its session highs. As I scroll down over the weekend, AMD unveils its Instinct M1 350 series GPUs, showcases OpenAI ecosystem. This is a direct blow to NVIDIA. Again, they're trying to stay in the race when it comes to GPU and AI technology. But this is going to be a huge platform for them. It's delivered its comprehensive end-to-end integrated AI platform vision and introduced its open, scalable, rack-scale AI infrastructure built on industry standards. So again, this is the project. Everyone's been waiting on this chip here. This is really going to see if they can really compete to NVIDIA. Didn't you say to be worried about AMD Friday? I did play a bearish. The contract expired that day, and I'll show you AMD, and I'll show you exactly why I was bearish on Friday. But overall, other than this news here, I'd be a little bit more, cautious in the market. Just the MTI so high. Still a lot of uncertainty. I'm not gonna say run around and sell all your stocks, but I'd be more cautious and be a little bit more selective when buying stocks at this time right now. And I'll show you that AMD trade setup. Pretty much it gapped down, filled the gap, and I was playing the rejection off of that gap fill, Michael. So it was more of a bearish day trade going into the afternoon session. But right now with a lot of those gains from the major indices being wiped away, still other than the first hour or two of the market, not a lot of optimism since then. And we see the G7 is meeting today. The group of the G7, they're meeting in Canada. I did hear some commentary from that. Trump and the leader of Canada had spoke as far as potential deal coming to the table. Trump saying he was a fan of tariffs. He mentioned that the president of Canada, his idea was a little bit more complex, but they were hoping to take a look at it. It sounded pretty optimistic. We'll see. What it's hard to. I'm not going to try to guess there. What about selling puts? If you're selling puts, you're going to be a little bit more bullish in nature. Golden Child. Look at MP. Yeah, I have a feeling rare earths are going to take off as well because I have two rare earth companies in my company portfolio, USAR and Antimony. The portfolio was up, I think, like 6% at one point today, so I would not be surprised to see MP up as well. Now, here's some other reason why we're seeing some optimism, right? Israel claims full area superiority. I know there's been talks about Iran wanting to negotiate. Obviously we've probably heard, I know a lot of you have seen the news and what's going on there, but, the market, still, adjusting to the news here. Obviously the sell-off Friday, with the war, starting, but some optimism. We'll see, as long as it doesn't disrupt certain, oil supply chains. But there was one thing, because I saw oil dropped, based off the peace talks or, potential for some kind of deal there. Defense, we'll have to take a look at it. But Jazz, so yes, are you keeping an eye on oil? I am, but I'm not seeing the optimism there. I'm going to go to oilprice.com. Look, drop down 3% on Brent crude as well. So this article points me to this. Super tanker charter rates soar on Persian Gulf route, right? Remember the Houthis in Yemen creating a lot of trouble there? I was less focused on oil then, more focused on shipping stocks. So, Jazz, I'm going to say let's take a look at oil, but I'm also going to, let's take a look at shipping stocks. There might be some opportunities there. And if we see some momentum, since, Thursday, Friday, going into today on the shipping stocks, might just be a nice momentum trade setup, based off of this news coming out. But yeah, a lot of big things. We got the G7, Fed Chair Powell coming out Wednesday with the interest rate decision as well as the conference. So keep that in mind. And a lot of big stories when it comes to tech as well. I was looking at Circle, which IPO'd, was it last week, I think, or the week before? Big news there. It broke out of its little, it was pretty range bound, a little bit of channel there. Actually, let's take a look at Circle, because I know that was a pretty popular IPO. There, you can see the range bound here over those 5 trading sessions, broke out of that range today, right? Well, Amazon, another couple other big retailers are talking about, creating their own stable coins, right? So stable coins, as it's making more noise, as, bigger companies are adopting this, stable coin technology, Circle is probably going to ride on the tailcoat of that momentum. If you don't know, they are the parent company or the company behind USDC. And by market cap, that's the second largest stable coin behind Tether. And if you don't know what a stable coin is, essentially it is the dollar equivalent. It's like holding dollars when you're trading in the crypto realm. So if you don't want to hold on to Bitcoin, you want to hold on to something pegged to the dollar, you would trade USDC. It's like going to cash, essentially, right? So don't buy a stable coin thinking you're going to make money, because that's literally pegged to the dollar. So if you didn't know that, I just saved you a headache for sure. Bitcoin up today. What are your thoughts surrounding crypto? I think as long as USDC, as long as stable coins, crypto in general, that technology is being adopted more by companies. Like I said, Amazon is talking about creating its own stable coin. That positive sentiment is only going to be good for Bitcoin, right? XRP moved 5%. Yeah, I'm not too surprised by that, because again, I've said it before. If you see tech up, if you see semiconductors up, AMD up 10% today. There's not a direct correlation, but I've been saying, if you see, semis up, typically crypto's up with it, and to the adverse effect, if semis are down, usually crypto's down. It's kind of, which it makes sense, because you need semiconductors for the ecosystem of crypto. So there is a relationship. There's between those two, and there's a correlation in price, and we can take a look at that. But let's change this, because I want to take a look at shipping for. Oh, there's crypto right there. Financial stocks, crypto, nice big jump in June here. If I had to guess, it's probably the Circle. But again, a lot of momentum in that space right now. So I can't be mad at crypto. I know Glenn's not a believer in it, but he did say, there's money to be made in opportunities. So just, trade the chart. Trade the chart. All right, so let's go to shipping, transportation, shipping. There we go. See what we got here. It is down today, and we got this on the MPI layout. Let's use Star Search, see if there's any momentum here. It is in this upper Bollinger Band, but just be careful. Down day today. I'm not going to be a buyer of it today. Is this a good time for purchasing gold? Let's take a look at the gold chart. Normally when I track gold, I did a video on this about 3 weeks ago. Got you guys in on a good little rally on gold. I was looking at the industry chart. Shipping right now, yeah, it's moving to the upside, but it was definitely moving before the conflict. But the trend's to the upside. Is it a big momentum because of the Iran-Israel conflict? Doesn't seem like it, right? And again, peace talks, right? Peace talks. You see peace talks today, down day. So if the conflict, dissolves, you're probably going to see a little bit of pullback, just like you would see, maybe in oil or, potentially defense stocks, can be based, can make movement based on the noise or, news coming out of the Middle East. I made a lot of money on call options, Palantir. Palantir having a good day today as well. But there's transportation ship. Again, some opportunity there in the fast lane. DPOs in positive territory. Not a lot of momentum based on the news. Let's take a look at gold, see what gold is doing today. Here is mining gold and silver. So this is the video I did, right? It was a retest. And I literally did the video. It was like right here. Like right as I was approaching, I said, hey, if it breaks it, put gold on your radar, right? So it broke it, and I think I did a follow-up video somewhere around in here. But look, it's in an uptrend. It's in the fast lane. Yes, it is a down day today because, if there's peace talks, that's probably not going to be good for gold or, other, items as such. But just Zim showing a falling star. Best defense stock is Palantir. I'm not going to necessarily disagree with that because Palantir helps the defense industry save money, right? Efficiency, AI technology. So there's a lot of good things that Palantir, can add value to the defense in general. Now let's take a look at oil. So I want to see what oil is doing. Actually, let's take a look at uranium while we're here. Look at uranium, still hot. Uranium is a good spot to be in. Look at nice gap up today. Yes, I do see the upper wick there. Yes, I do see that it's, if I put on RSI, it's probably an overbought situation. If you're looking to, maybe potentially look for a dip in this, I'm going to say probably maybe somewhere right in here. You got a touch from the bottom, touch from the top. Maybe 687. You put uranium on your radar. If it comes back, look for a pivot maybe around here. But otherwise, momentum's to the upside, still in the fast lane. With the market toppy, is it wise to think semis will drop? Market is toppy, but a lot of that, obviously AMD's running right now and bringing a lot of enthusiasm because of the news of their new chips, right? But a lot of that's going to be determined what's going on with the China deal. And I'm not going to speculate on what. Are you taking any stocks for review today? Yes, we're going to take a lot of stocks for review today. Definitely going to do that. But a lot of it's going to be the China deal. So right now, if I take, let's go to graphs, go to market timing. MTI layout. Let's see where the MTI is at here. MTI is at 1.52, right? So I got to literally, you got red lights or red lines here. If I zoom into 3 months, right? Red is typically, I'm not saying go run out and sell all your stocks and take all your profit, but it's usually a good time to trim winning positions, potentially get defensive. You can see the market here. I've got some levels of support. If we break these levels of support here, about 69, $70. If we break this, yes, get more bearish. And obviously the primary wave will probably kick in. We saw the DEW close, converging closer to that 30-day weighted moving average. DPO, pulling back a little bit. The DEW would kick in. So I said this Friday, be careful, just shorting the market. The bears, the primary wave is teetering right now. It would be a guessing game. Wait, Ryan, why are you disclosing MTI value? Glenn was hesitant and asked us to take subscription to know the MTI. Yes, and again, I don't have the color guard, but I really want to show you the power of these market timing signals. I don't plan on showing a lot of market timing, but if we go out to 6 months, look at this. You see the MTI? Every time it gets closer to this green level right here, it's a pullback. Oh, let's go to 1 year chart. You can see rally, right? Hits the red lines. Rally, hits the red lines. It did continue to grow here, but again, we're getting into that potentially, overbought. I'm not saying that the market can't go up a little bit further, but the downside risk is starting to weigh some of that upside potential. So just be careful. There's a lot of videos on, the MTI and really how to utilize it. Even for options, you can utilize it. Giving you a sense of a good time for calls or, bullish options compared to bearish. Especially if you're new to option trading and you feel like you're missing something there. Market timing is typically what you're missing. So just be careful. And MTI, DEW, the value, those are some of my favorite things to look at in the VectorVest 7 software. I look at them daily. Doesn't matter if I work here or not. So I'm still going to look at them, especially if I do my own personal trading. And you see the market timing right now. RT's is in the favor of the bulls. BSR, healthy market. But it's just saying, the market's a little on the overextended side. Not saying, back up the truck, start buying everything right now. No. Be a little bit more selective in what you buy. That's all I'm saying. All right, so let's go back. I want to look at a couple more industries here. Actually, let's do this. Let's go to the viewers. We're going to scroll down. We're going to the industry viewer. Let's take a look at the top industries and actually see what is working right now. If we take a look, steel alloy, and we saw the big news there, the Nippon deal. It looks like it's came to fruition. So I saw that the U.S. has the golden share? That's a little bit different there. A little bit different. up 1.1% here. We got electrical connectors coming in strong, 2.76%. So if I'm looking for momentum today, I'm going to look at this one. Let's look at these here. Computer networks. We'll go to view stocks and industry group. See if we can find us some fish here. All right, we got, let's graph, say, the top 5 of these. They're all in positive territory, the top 5. So I do like that. All right. Now this stock fell out of the fast lane. Still nice upward momentum. Looks like it broke its trend line, though, here recently. So maybe not so much this. This might be more on the short side because it did break that upward trend line. It's no longer in the fast lane. So I am seeing some bearish cautionary tails there. Let's take a look. This one here showing a lot of momentum. Look at the squeeze in the Bollinger Bands and then a nice breakout. Here's a nice momentum trade for you. It went from about just shy of $25. Now trading just over $28 with DPOs picking up in positive territory. You know, just again showing some momentum, showing some confirmation for the bulls. This is Radware, RDWR. Let's look at the value here. I'm going to add value. All right, value on the rise, price action on the rise. That's what I like to see. I see the stock is overvalued, but with value on the rise as well, momentum in the fast lane. Hey, treat it like a momentum trader. But honestly, I like this position here. We got Neon, upper wick, trading below the open today. Not liking that. We do have a gap to fill here. You know, potentially see if it fills that gap. If there's a nice pivot, that pivot might occur somewhere around, looks around $18. Yeah, about 1802. Here we've got BOS, Better Online Solutions. Just entered the fast lane as of today. Now, if you're looking for confirmation here, let's take out today's upper wick. I do see the upper wick there as well. So, you know, sellers are coming in. So let's look for some confirmation there. Here's alt. Look at a nice lower left, upper right, full body candlestick. Approaching the fast lane once again, showing that some momentum might be coming back into the stock. This is a good one to keep on your radar. DPO, shorter term, it did falter here. Still negative. Maybe wait for that to go into positive territory to get that confirmation. If that does go into positive territory, the DPO there of 9, that'll probably put price action back into the fast lane. So just keep that in mind. But this also, I mean, whether you're a swing trader looking for a quick profit from a, you know, star search perspective, but just in general, look, I mean, lower left, upper right, I do notice that the stock is overvalued. Be careful there. If we go to a 1-year chart, almost looks like a cup, right? Cup, handle, breakout. So if you really want some confirmation here, let's get above that cup here, about 940. It's just shy of $1 away. All right, those are pretty good picks there. Let's close out of this one as well. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, sector technology. Currency other. Again, this is typically going to be a lot of the crypto here. Let's take a look, see what we got. Let's go to view industry graph. And a downtrend right now. A slight downtrend. I'd want to see break above this trend line here, showing some confirmation, maybe a nice retest or some strong volume. But nonetheless, definitely downtrend DPO, getting closer to the oscillation point of 0. The 9-day already in negative territory here. So just be careful there if you are holding this position. This is still, well, this is an industry here, but again, this is the crypto space. Let's see here. Oh, let's see what banks foreigns. Oh, we got semiconductors here. Let's see what semis are doing. Up 2.25%, or sorry, 2.5%, just over. Look at this value on the rise, price action on the rise. In the fast lane right now, someone was saying about semis. I do like semis right now. I mean, look at that. That is an uptrend, right? That is a clear uptrend. If you are holding semis, If the industry breaks this trend line here, that's when I would start getting a little bit more defensive on your semis, right? You can see, but we're still in a clear uptrend, still above that trend line there. This is semiconductor equipment, but still looking good overall. And we might surpass that new high. So if you are looking for confirmation, let's take out the prior swing high here, coming in around 94.13. All right. But yeah, semis are still looking good. Nice uptrend there. If I scroll down, we got banks foreign. Let's take a look at these banks foreign because this was a very nice place to be earlier. This more of the tariff trade situation. So let's see if this trade is still holding strong. Go to view industry graph. If I go to 3 months. I mean, look at the value. Value's on the rise. This space is undervalued. Price action on the rise. Nice full body candlestick. We are seeing a pinch in the star search here. So we could get a potential breakout from that consolidation that we're seeing in this pinch of the Bollinger Bands. But nice full body candlestick. So I mean, it still looks like the trade is intact for the most part if you're holding foreign banks. Again, this was kind of the tariff play. We saw this do really well, especially in the first quarter of the year. But you can still see that momentum. Even after, the little dip here, the buyers came in. I like what I see here when it comes to bank foreign. Let's see here. Industry viewer. All right, let's go to the watch list viewer. I do want to see what the quantum stocks are doing today. Because with the NASDAQ up and the market doing good, I imagine, these stocks, yep, I had a feeling that these are in positive territory today as well. We move this symbol over here. NVIDIA at the top of the list. Let's take a look at more common suspects. We got Qubits here up 19%. D-Wave up 5% here. We got WIT. But yeah, all looking pretty positive. Even emotion, quantum emotion, doing good, up 12%. So yeah, I like what I see here. Have you guys already gone over SLV? No, we have not. We have not gone over SLV yet, and it actually is 12:30. So let's get ready to take some stock picks. Let's analyze your picks. Let me scroll in here, go down to midday. All right, go ahead and type in the stock symbols. I'm gonna take, you know what? We're gonna do 20 stocks today. We're just going to do straight up 20 stocks. So the first 20 to come across the comment section, those are the ones going in today. First up is going to be JP Morgan. We got QNTM, PLTR, SLV, SMR, AMD. And Michael, I'll show you that AMD trade I was talking about Friday, but it was a gap fill and a rejection off the gap fill. It was just day trading because the contracts expired that day. So let's see here. AB, ADBE, MP. HIMS, Oxy. All right, see where we're at with there. We got 4. Calm. Yeah, I got Adobe in there. Path. ISRG. I got SMR in there, I believe, already. Yes, I do have SMR. We got Upstart, UPST, SMCI, Meta. All right, 3 more. See, after Meta, we've got LMT. That's a good one. Yes, I want to look at some defense as well. RXRX, POWL. And that should, That is 20. Yep. Excellent. All right. At the top of the list with VST going to be HIMS. Very nice. Second in the list, we got AMD. Let's auto fit. There we go. JP Morgan, SMCI at the top of this. Meta, Palantir, PAL. Great stocks today. If we look at percentage here, percent PRC, a lot of big movers to the upside, but look at this. I've got Oxy here. Joey, can you scoot me over to the left-hand side? Because I'm right in the middle of all the indicators. There we go. He's floating through the space. Floating through space. All right. Thank you, Joey. Oh, there we go. All right. So now we can see, look, Lockheed Martin, and look what's down today. Oil, right? So that's why I said be careful on oil on the, because again, I remember, the last time Iran was really in the news, I think it was about a year ago with the Houthis and everything. Shipping was the play. That's why I was looking at those shipping stocks. Didn't look like there was a whole lot going on. Definitely an uptrend, but with this news of the last few days breaking out, didn't really see a whole lot of, oomph in the shipping industry. So not gonna, jump into that quite yet. But looks like again, risk off situation, seeing HIMS, AMD, SMCI. We just look at the quantum stocks. A lot of those are up today. So I imagine, gold's probably not doing a very good day today. I haven't necessarily looked at it yet. And if I scroll over here, let's see where we get the most value still. Even after this rally, we're still getting the most value with JP Morgan, COM, AMD, Meta, and 4. That's where the value is going to be at with this list of stocks. AMD up, again, almost 10% here. If you are just tuning in, that's because of the launch of their new AI chips. So a lot of good optimism when it comes to AMD, and that optimism spreading out to the rest of the semis as well. As I scroll over here to the right, a lot of these stocks here at the top showing favorable both RV and RS. Which stock of these has the best RV rating? We got COM, AMD, Adobe, Meta. RV looks at long-term price appreciation potential. If I look at RS, a relative safety here. Again, look at this. AMD at the top of the list is going to be the safest stock in the bunch here, followed by Adobe, SMCI, Palantir, a top safety pick of this list here. If we take a look, safety coming out 1.18, favorable rating here. And as far as momentum, which stocks have the strongest momentum to the upside? Nuclear, SMR, nuclear play, HIMS, Upstart, Semiconductor. Again, another semiconductor, financial. So a lot of momentum here. Where is Palantir? Sorry, I had to scroll up. Palantir at the top of the list. If we look at RT here, 1.82. MP up 12%. Quantum up 10% here, 1.73. So a lot of big movers when it comes to these positions here. Palantir looking really good. Sales growth rate, 39% growth rate, and earnings 25% respectively. As far as the highest sales growth rate, looks like we got SMR, HIMS to 101% sales growth rate. That's phenomenal. We've got COM here, 102%. Great forecasted data on these positions. If we look at growth rate and earnings, HIMS, again, still at the top of the list here. One of the top of the list for growth rate and earnings, 50%. PAL, 36%. A lot of double digits. So these are good stocks here. Let's go ahead and jump in the chart, see if there's any opportunities to be had with these positions. All right, see here. We're going to do this one here. And we're going to take off RSI. We're at our growth rate and earnings, sales growth rate. We're at value. Now here we've got HIMS. Nice momentum to the upside. That 20-day EMA keeping you in the trade. Nice full body candlestick today. Well, I see the little bit of a wick there. Let me move this line out of the way. I see the wick, but hey, this stock looks like it's going to approach the fast lane. If we get it close into the fast lane, open in the fast lane tomorrow, again, might not be a bad momentum trade to start out with. Again, took a little bit of a dip, but nice retest on that 20-day EMA, staying above it. The valuation flatline, that's not going to be good. I'm still going to treat this more like a momentum play than more in kind of value or so. Growth rate and earnings on the rise, coming in at 50%. Sales growth rate, 111%. I got to like HIMS. I said this probably last summer when Glenn and I were talking about GLPs in the beginning. This is a great, affordable GLP-1 option. I kind of put it in the disruptor category because it's kind of to get rid of the doctor, put you directly in control of your prescriptions. Interesting concept, but you can see it's playing out well and very nicely. Here's PAL. PAL range bound, right? Look for the breakout. Add some volume to the chart. If you got strong volume on that breakout, hey, that's exactly what you want to see here. But growth rate and earnings falling, sales growth rate falling, no. I'm not going to get optimistic on this position unless I get a breakout here and it's in that fast lane. It's already in the fast lane, moving averages in the favor of the bulls. So just be careful, because if you get any kind of rejection here, you're just going to be right back where you were in this channel. Here we've got Upstart. Same thing, hasn't done a whole lot over the last 3 months. I do like the growth rate and earnings on the rise. Sales growth rate rising. Much better than the situation before. Buy rating coming in. We did get a little bit of a breakout here from the prior swing high, but rejection. So for confirmation, I want to get back in that fast lane. I want to take out this prior high coming in at 61.51. So just keep that in mind. Here we've got SMCI. Range bound again, right? Not a lot of action. Look, value on the decline, growth rate and earnings on the decline, sales growth rate on the decline. If we can take out this right here, I'd be a little bit more optimistic. This is going to be about 44.58. If we can get above that, this could be a nice little pinch breakout. I see the Bollinger Bands tightening up. I see the moving averages tightening up. Price action is going to want to break out, right? PLTR, the shopping board, but it looks like a clock taking profit, small correction. We'll get the PLTR in just a moment here. Here he's got COM. New high today. Look, undervalued valuation jumping up. A big pinch. This might be a good breakout to look out for because look at it. We got a pinch on the star search. It broke out to the upside. Full body candlestick. Rising forecasted data. I do like this position. Whether momentum trader. Sorry, you plan on holding it for a little bit, but it's undervalued, fresh buy rating, hit a new high, 3-month high, rising forecasted data. This is actually a great position, and it's checking off all those boxes I like to see when buying a position. Here's AMD. Again, here's the trend line, right? As long as it stays above this trend line, we're rocking and rolling. Nice full-bodied candlestick today, breaking out of the prior swing high. Value on the rise. Price action on the rise. Growth rate took a dip, but came right back. Still sitting at 26%. Sales growth rate outpacing earnings growth rate. That's a good sign. Coming in at 36% on the rise as well. Nice jump there. If I go to a year, you see the growth rate was declining, but the sales growth rate is not declining. It continues to grow. So definitely keep this on your radar. And as they come out with, technology, AI, better chips to compete with NVIDIA, that's what it's all about. I've said this before. They don't even have to beat NVIDIA. They just got to stay in the race. As long as they're staying in the race and keeping a hold on to their slice of the AI pie. And, if they can grow their slice a little bit, that's not going to hurt. But overall, still looking good for AMD here. I like what I see with this position. Here we've got shift 4 payments here. Value on the rise, price action on the rise. A little bit of a dip here. I do like this buy the dip. Let's see if I can get a close tomorrow above that 20-day EMA, I'd like it even better. That's the confirmation I want to see. But with falling growth rate, falling sales growth rate, still good numbers, double digits across the board here, but they are in the decline. Honestly, I'll say that this is the reason why I like this. It's undervalued, price action on the rise, value on the rise. That's what I like to see. My only concern here, if I use a freehand line, we're retesting this trend line now from the bottom. So if we get rejection on this test from the bottom, hey, protect profits, do what you got to do. I'm not going to get too bullish, but if we get back above this trend line here shortly, be much more optimistic. But right now, this is not, we're at a pivotal point for the bulls here. If we get rejection from the bottom end, I'm going to say that the bullish nature is over for right now. As far as you bought the dip on 4. I'm not sure where you bought that dip because, since this dip here, it's been in an uptrend, but now we just broke that. We're retesting it from the upside, so just be careful, okay? Here we've got Palantir, lower left, upper right, new high. I like what I see, but the valuation's still flat, stagnant. But pretty much since it broke out of this consolidation, I wouldn't be surprised to see Palantir go on a nice little run here. We will see. But growth rate and earnings, 25%. Sales growth rate coming in at 39%. Hey, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. But it's just overvalued. I've said it before. That's my only concern about Palantir. Just overvalued. But here's my long-term trend line. As long as it stays above that, I am going to be more optimistic in this position overall. You can see that's a long-term trend line, right? And it's getting right up to that $100 mark. But that's a lot to give away before you get down there. So this is the level I have right now. About 134 is where I'd like to find support. If we get a little pivot off that, you might get bullish again. But if we break 118, definitely would be concerned about that. As I scroll down, here we've got Meta platforms. Meta again. Value on the rise. Price action on the rise. Stays above that 20-day EMA. Yes, the forecasted data is falling. I do see that. But 22%, 16%, still nothing to laugh at. I need to take his take on PLTR, his price target. Ryan, where is Glenn? Glenn is out on PTO right now. But yeah, with price action, as far as a price target on Palantir, 150 would be a good price target, but it's already there. So again, that's more of Glenn's baby. It's, I'm sticking to the technicals. I see the breakout. I'm going to play the breakout on it. As far as, what it's actually valued, you see what the VectorVest system values it for. So, investors are just willing to pay a premium right now. That's all that's saying. Here's SMR. Look, forecasted data. Nice jump there. It looks like it was negative 3 months ago. Negative 5%. Now coming in here at 21%. I like that turnaround story. I always like a good story going from negative to positive. Sales growth rate jumped. It was at 650, but now it's 870. So big move there. But I do see a wick here. This is where I'd like to find a level of support. About $36.70 down to about $32. So if we, I do see that upper wick there. If we do get a rollover, that's where I'd like to find support. The 20-day EMA has entered that zone. So as long as it stays above that 20-day EMA, we'll be optimistic in the short term. And I like the idea of SMR, small module reactors. Definitely a lot of potential there. Here we got 6-month ISRG. This thing has done a whole lot of nothing in 6 months. Slightly positive from the year, though. It is overvalued. Growth rate's on the decline. Sales growth rate is rising, 18-19% respectively. Company, nothing too crazy as far as bearish nature here. But all the moving averages, price action trading below the 20-day EMA, below the Bollinger Bands, cannot be a buyer right now. Be more defensive. Here we've got Path. A UPath, software business. Growth rate on the decline. Sales growth rate on the decline. But so if we just look at the technicals, because we see it's overvalued. Price action just dropped below that 20-day EMA and now hugging the bottom Bollinger Band. So momentum is picking up for the bears. And look at this big gap up here. Gave it all away, stagnant, and now starting to break out to the downside. So no, I can't get too optimistic with this one right now. Here is Adobe. Price action on the rise. Value on the rise as well. Growth rate, sales growth rate ticking up. But as far as price action, yes, back below the 20-day EMA. So with the MTI at elevated levels, again, this would be on my list of, maybe trimming some profits here. Because, now it's break. You can draw actually broke its trend line as well. But below the 20-day EMA, below the Bollinger Band here, I'd be a little bit more defensive on Adobe. Here's JP Morgan. Breakout to the upside. New high. I'd put this one on your radar. This might be the beginning of a nice momentum trade here. Look, value steadily rising a little bit here. Price action steadily rising. Forecasted data, it's positive. Nothing, crazy or to get too worried about. But definitely something just to take note. But I do like that new high here. Breaking out into the fast lane. This is nice setup for a nice momentum trade here. Just in the making, right? I heard Glenn is letting it run as he is in all cash position. House money. Yeah, I don't know if he's still playing. I think he is, but he might have closed out of it. I'd have to talk to Glenn and see. I know he did close out a portion of his Palantir. He's letting the other side run. But here's Quantum Biopharma. Look at this. Nice jump up to the upside here. Full body candlestick today. Moving averages in our favor. I mean, look at the value. So don't, again, overvalued play. Way overvalued. We're trading at 21. We valued at 264. Growth rate, sales growth rate, nothing crazy there. Treat it like a momentum play. As long as it stays in that fast lane. Maybe put Star Search on here. If I use Star Search. So we're getting closer to the the second standard deviation here. Or sorry, the third deviation. That's what I thought. Third deviation. So you might see some rejection. We saw rejection there yesterday. So if you're in this position and we start to see rejection closer to this third deviation, it means that price action may want to go back towards its mean, right? So, taking profits off a big mover like this, never a bad idea. But like I said, you don't have to close them all. And I'm not seeing that rejection yet. It's, mostly a full body trading at session highs. But just keep an eye out if we see rejection at this third standard deviation, right? Here's RXRX, lower than it was 3 months ago. This is pharmaceutical. This is the one I believe that NVIDIA had some kind of stake in, right? I would set a stop loss with cash positions. You can always buy again. Yes, great idea. Janice, I'm glad he set a stop. I don't know if he set a stop. Glenn got stopped out on Palantir. Okay, he did? Okay, good. So he didn't just let that the house money ride blindly, it sounds like, according to Janice. Both RXRX, I can't get behind it. Not a lot of momentum there. I know the stock was a big mover back on the NVIDIA news, and you can see the Bollinger Bands expanded out. There it is. There's the pop. But as of right now, growth rate, sales growth rate, nothing astonishing. Value, overvalued. Value actually declined. So yeah, I can't get too enthused about that position right now. Here's Lockheed Martin. Now, price action range bound here, right? It's pretty much a channel between the high and the low. But look at the value starting to tick up, closer to 400. And the valuation, if we see here 3 months ago, 342. Now we're talking just over $400. I do like that. Growth rate on the rise. Actually went from negative to positive. Sales growth rate looks like it was negative as well. Went positive. So yes, looks like this could be a turnaround story. But because it's range bound, I'd want to get some confirmation before just buying this position here, right? That confirmation is probably going to come in. There's the gap. So there's a little bit of gap right there. Real confirmation about just over $500. So we'll go around 510 for some confirmation on this. If you're looking for a buy the dip scenario, you've got a nice level here, several touches. As long as price, if you see a nice pivot, you want to buy a little dip, hey, can't be mad at it. But if it breaks much below 443, definitely would be getting more defensive at that time. Here we've got silver. Silver on a tear, lower left, upper right, pretty flat today. Actually, I do like the idea of silver, especially, if you're heavier on gold, maybe taking a little bit of profit of the gold, put in some silver at some point, diversify between the two commodities. Not a bad idea, but hey, it's in the fast lane, moving averages in our favor. I like what I see here. I definitely like what I see. Here's MP. This is a rare earth play. Nice momentum to the upside. Full body candlestick today. Moving averages in our favor. This is way overvalued, clearly. You got growth rate on the rise. Sales growth rate rising as well, coming at 25. But even so, growth rate still negative. Even with that jump up to the upside. Still negative. But yeah, MP, I like the play here. I'll take a look at US Antimony and USAR as well. Oxy Petroleum. There's a trend line here clearly forming. The stock is overvalued. Because it's overvalued, because of growth rate and earnings, sales growth rate. What growth rate earnings is negative, sales growth rate, it's decent. I'm going to treat it like a momentum play. As long as it stays above this, right? Rock and roll. But you can see the news, any kind of peace deal with Iran, any kind of, resolution there, probably, would cause this to go down a little bit further. But as long as it stays above this trend line, above that 20-day EMA, I'm going to be optimistic. And what chart duration do you recommend? Minutes or hours for day trading? I look at 1 minute bars for day trading. I will look at 5 minute bars as well. But typically what I do is I'll go to like a 3-month time span on end of day, get my levels, get the bigger picture of what's going on with that. Me typically, if it's a stock, it's AMD, or if it's an index, it's QQQ. Get the bigger picture of what's going on. What major levels should I be looking at, right? And then I'll zoom in to an intraday chart, like I said, typically 1 minute or 5 minute chart. And I'll take that big picture information and look at these levels and say, hey, I could get rejection here. I could get, buying here. So I try to take I zoom out first and then I zoom in, right? Because if you don't look at the big picture, see what's going on over the last few weeks with a stock or ETF, and you just look intraday, well, you're probably going to, have a rough day because there's probably some key levels that you're not paying attention to, which you probably should. But as far as Occidental, I like it. So let me just add UAMY, USAR, see what we got here with these positions. UAMY, let's go to 3 months. Slightly down today. But I do like the value here. Look, value's on the rise. Even though the stock's had a big move, value's also had a big move. Growth rate rising. Sales growth rate, 128. So I do like this from a value perspective. MP and USAR, they're just overvalued. Not saying that's bad, but I would treat them more on the technicals than I would on the valuation, right? But USAR, you see the value dropped here. But hey, the technicals are in favor, right? So, as long as you're disciplined, you can do star search, moving averages, trend lines, whatever it is, just stay disciplined. All those items work. You just got to stick to them, right? They might, get you out a little bit sooner than the other indicator, but, that's really determines your risk tolerance. How much of a threshold of pain are you willing to take, to get those potential profits, right? Let's see here. Oh, yeah, defense. I do want to look at defense in general. This is an ETF here. You can see that ETF just grinding on this trend line. Even with its loss of momentum here, just grinding on that trend line. Looks like it's retesting it from the bottom. Let's zoom into a 1 month time span. Let's make this a little bigger here. So yeah, now we're retesting it from the bottom. So you really want to get price action back above this trend line, because if we get some rejection here, and especially break that 20-day EMA, don't lose all the profits, especially if you're swing trading. Now, if you're buying whole and you bought some of these positions for years, yeah, 20-day EMA is not going to be your biggest concern, right? But if you're swing trading and the whole objective was just to take profits from this rally, right? We're getting close to a, take profit situation. If we get rejection from the bottom of this trend line, if we break this 20-day EMA, taking some profits, especially as we mentioned, the MTI at elevated levels, never a bad idea, right? I like Shield over. Let's take a look at Shield as well, because I know Glenn talks a lot about defense in these type of positions, so they're definitely going to be, I know a lot of you individuals are going to be holding this. Shield looks a little more optimistic, right? If I'd use a trend line here, it's not battling that trend line from the bottom end, right? It's on the top of the trend line, right? We got a little cushion before we touch that trend line. It's above the 20-day EMA. So this one's showing a little bit more optimism, right? So again, just be careful on the defend. The shield looks a lot better. At least in this little short term, the last few trading sessions. But other than the last few trading sessions, both of them have been on a tear up. Just, be a little bit more careful on the defend. All right, everybody. It is 1 o'clock. What should I do tonight's video about? I got to do tonight's video since Glenn is gone. So I'm going to, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a good chance it's going to be AMD's GPU story. If you think AMD would be a good video for tonight, put a 1 in the comment section. If you don't think NVIDIA or AMD would be a good topic for tonight, put a topic that you would be interested in. And I'm going to go through the comment section. Pennywise, AMD is a good one. John says 1. Yeah, because I'm just curious. Because, if they're stepping in the ring with NVIDIA, because you got to think about it, I have to look at AMD's market cap. But I think it's around 250, 300 billion, maybe. Let's actually, while we're here, might as well look at it. It's just AMD's got the bag potential, right? NVIDIA might have another bag or so in it, but with such a large market cap, that's a hard bag to get, right? AMD, let's see here, add market cap. This is going to be the bag one. And if they're tiptoeing in the ring, market cap here, $206 billion, right? So even if they get to 1 trillion market cap, which is still a fraction of NVIDIA, I think they're at 3 trillion now. That's 5. That's 500% increase, right? 200. That's 5-fold. So again, and I see a lot of 1s here. All right, let's do it. We're gonna do AMD. I'm gonna do some research, see exactly what was the GPU coming out. It was like the M Instinct series. Lisa Sue had some commentary, so I'll probably include that into the video. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. Everyone have a great Monday. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, especially if you want to hear about AMD's updates and why the stock is up almost 10% today. Everybody have a great afternoon, and I'll see you this evening. Take care.